we are now talking to NFL Draft Bible Assistant, Scouting Director, and Writer, Jack Borowsky. What's going on, Jack?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
We are good, man, and the draft is over, and you said this was a weak draft. I told you I beg to differ when we talked, I guess, months ago. What did you think about the draft and how it fell, and who do you think was the winners of the first round?
I thought the draft was, the class wasn't necessarily great. Obviously, only one quarterback won in the first round, and that tends to, drive it from a, casual fan perspective and just, the entertainment aspect of things. But, with the wide receiver position, I felt like it replaced quarterback this year with, 6 in the first 18 picks. And then A.J. Brown was traded as well. You had Marquise Brown. So you had a lot of moving pieces with the receiver position, which made it super entertaining for the first round. I wasn't necessarily in love with it, but, I thought, there was a lot of questions. Will be Walker or Hutchinson the first pick? Walker ended up going 1, Stingley 3rd, threw everyone for a loop. So I thought it was pretty entertaining. If you look at a winner from the first day of the draft, it had to be the Jets. I think that was an obvious one. You get 3 top tier players. You get a cornerback in Ahmad Gardner, who was one of my top prospects. And then you followed up with Garrett Wilson, who, many felt was the top wide receiver. That's an A+ day. You get 2 of the top 4 or 5 most valuable positions in the league, and you get the best player in the draft at both. And then they followed it up with trading back in the first round to get Jermaine Johnson, who to me was arguably the most talented pass rusher in the draft. The biggest questions surrounding him were character and his age, being 23. But outside of that, he's a supremely talented player. And I think he comes in and could be an immediate impact player. So, the Jets and then the Giants as well. I think both New York teams did a fantastic job on day one. Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau. Just talk about star power, getting guys who were 2 of the best college football players the past 3 seasons. I thought the 2 of them, A+ days overall. I thought the Jets continued day 2. They got the best running back in the draft. You get 4 players. If you want to say Jermaine Johnson's the 3rd best edge rusher, whatever it may be, 4th, but you get the best cornerback in the draft, the best receiver in the draft, the best running back in the draft. They really upgraded their roster. The Ravens, I thought, did an exceptional job with their day 2 picks, getting David Ojabo, the pass rusher from Michigan, who I felt, was a top 32 player and probably a top 20 pick if he didn't tear his Achilles. Taking him in middle of the second round, if he doesn't pan out, they have enough talent within that organization that they can withstand a player like him if he busts. But then they followed up with Travis Jones as well in the 3rd round, who I thought the D tackle from UConn could have been a late first round pick, early second. He'll play 10 years in the league. Knowing the Ravens, you got Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum. Kyle's a safety, Tyler's a center in the first round, both of which, I think that they could be long-term starters. So, those were 3 teams that I was really impressed with and definitely helped their rosters.
So you were talking about the run of the wide receivers happening all at once, and you kind of said it was like replacing the quarterbacks in classes that are weaker with quarterbacks. Can you see that kind of thing being more of a modern trend now with not only that, but also the receivers that are getting traded as quickly as they do because they don't do as well with their second contracts as much?
Yeah, I think it's because it's them and quarterbacks. I compare it to other sports. You see star power in basketball, and those guys get traded all the time. They get to dictate, hey, I want to be here, I want to be there, and teams are saying, all right, well, we got to do that because it's an individual sport. I think we're starting to see that with quarterbacks and receivers. We saw the quarterbacks get traded before the draft, and, players, Deshaun Watson saying, here's my list, here's where I want to go, and I'm going to sign whatever contract I want. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys dictating whatever they want. I saw that and I said, all right, the quarterback's position. And now because wide receivers, I think, copycat league, revisionist history, seeing what the Bengals were able to do. You have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, and they were basically comfortable with, being able to compete in any game because you have 3 guys who can get open on any play. It didn't matter who else was around them. Burrow could find one of them. I think people realize we need top tier receivers. And then the receiver market just exploded as well because the free agent class wasn't overly impressive. And, and a lot of these marquee names wanted to leave their original destination. So you saw a lot of changes in the draft, and it was a good receiver class. I think if the quarterback class had more than just Kenny Pickett as a first round caliber player, I think we would have seen a similar thing to wide receiver. But I think those two positions, wide receiver, partly being a lot of these guys divas, they want what they want. They don't just fall in line like an offensive lineman. It's like, yeah, I'll just play in Detroit for 12 years and I'll make a lot of money and be fine with that. They want the quarterback, they want the marketing, they want everything. And so you're looking to change locations a lot, and paying $25 million for a player. Some teams feel that they need to do that. And so, like the Eagles and the Titans, Titans sitting there. What are we going to do with AJ Brown? AJ Brown, vocal that he wants a deal done or he wants out. Titans couldn't afford to keep him, so the Eagles came in and basically said, AJ, will give you whatever you want, because to get a premium wide receiver is so valuable, which the Bengals showed having 3. You're able to make the Super Bowl with not the best roster in the league.
As everybody knows, we're talking to NFL Draft Bible Assistant Scouting Director and writer Jack Borowsky. Jack, a lot of people, including Pat McAfee, he drafted, his draft board was very interesting. Mostly everybody had an A+. There was a couple of C+, and there was one F-. And the one team that he gave an F- was the Dallas Cowboys. And you go up and down their draft board, you kind of shake your head. You wonder why they went with this. Why did they go in the second round the way they did? What were your thoughts when you heard that Smith was their number 1 pick? And where did you grade the Dallas Cowboys throughout the draft?
It's funny. I thought you would have said the Patriots, because when they took Cole Strange in the first
C+,
round.
they gave him. He gave him a C+.
Okay, so when they took Cole Strange in the first round from Chattanooga, it probably took me about 15 hours to process that, because I love Cole Strange. Thought he would have been a great pick between like 60 and 75. To see him go 29th, it just... I just couldn't process it. So I would have assumed, people.
You a Patriot fan?
What?
Are you a Patriot fan?
I used to be. Now, it's harder to be a Pats fan now because of my work, but it's really because Brady's not there, and so I don't understand half the things Belichick does. So partly that reason. But back with the Cowboys, I had a first round grade on Tyler Smith. I didn't think he was going to go that high, but dating back to the summer, I remember I wasn't watching Tulsa tape. I was watching Oklahoma State film. And they played Tulsa week 1 when Tyler was a redshirt freshman. Tyler was playing left tackle, and he was destroying everyone. I mean, I noticed this 56 kid was just pummeling every defender. So I looked him up, saw he was going to be a redshirt sophomore, 6'5", 320, 330 pounds, and said, all right, let me put on his film. And I said to myself, this kid's a first-round caliber player. And he was one of my favorite guys in the class.
Really?
For forever. Yeah. No, I was the number 1 fan for Tyler Smith for a very long time. So
interesting.
You'll
make a lot of Cowboy fans happy. I mean, a lot of Cowboy fans were about to jump off a bridge when they heard Tyler Smith's name get called. I mean, serious, we have a bunch of Cowboy fans that are like, Tyler Smith? We could have got Jermaine Johnson, those idiots.
Except one of our Cowboys fans also said he would have rather drafted Xavier McKinney over CeeDee Lamb, too. But...
I think, with Tyler, it's not the conventional pick. Where did he play? Tulsa? He's a young guy. I think because I've watched 2 years of his film now, I've probably watched 10 to 12 of his games. What I did notice, and if you go back to his redshirt freshman film, I honestly thought it was better. This kid, to me, after watching his film as a redshirt freshman, I talked to a couple people within the league. They're like, I think he could be a first-round pick. I said, if he makes any kind of progress from his redshirt freshman to redshirt sophomore season, I think we're looking at a top 10 pick in the draft, because his power and natural grip strength is impossible to find. He's special in that regard. Good athlete, checks every box. He's going to be 21 years old. I didn't think I actually at times thought he was worse as a redshirt sophomore because his hand usage was bad. I think that was the problem with everything, as a redshirt sophomore was. And it could be because he was so good as a redshirt freshman, he kind of mailed it in and said, basically, these players in the AAC I'm going up against aren't that great. I'm not gonna use my hands. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna chuck him to the ground. I may get a penalty or not. But at his best, he is right up there with Charles Cross, Evan Neal, and
Interesting.
Aquanu.
And Aquanu. Yeah, and you could argue that he has a lot of similarities to Aquanu, and he tested better. So did I think they were going to make that pick? No, I thought they would have taken Jermaine Johnson. They need a pass rusher.